Oke, selamat berjumpa lagi di Pikal Corner. Salam sehat dan salam hijau. Kali ini kita bertemu dengan seorang saintis dan visiting lecturer dari universitas ternama, yakni Warsaw University of Life Science. Beliau adalah Wojciech dokter, and then dia berasal dari Department of Forest Management, Dendrometry and Forest Economics, the Institute of Forest Sciences, di Warsaw University of Life Sciences. Okay? Dan kita akan membicarakan beragam hal terkait dengan Poland Forestry. Ya, dan juga kita akan belajar apa sih yang paling baik gitu ya, yang bisa kita pelajari dari situasi kehutanan dan pengolahan hutan di Polandia, karena kita tahu pengolahan hutan mereka sangat bagus. Baik, kita mulai saja wawancaranya setelah yang berikut ini. Okay, so how should I call you, Dr. Kenjora?
You can say Wojciech. That would be easier option for my name.
Okay, Wojciech.
Yes.
Okay. Hello. Very good afternoon, Wojciech. Okay, so I'm Yovi, and I see that you enjoy your days in Bogor.
Of course.
Yeah, still, even though it's quite humid in here.
In fact, it is. It's our first time in Indonesia, first time in Bogor, so getting out of plane was quite an experience. The temperatures in Poland, where I come from, were much, much lower. So maybe it was not a shock, but we felt differently, especially about the humidity, which is much, much higher than in our country. But I think the weather is pleasant. I like that every day you have same amount of sunshine.
Yeah.
So this makes life maybe more predictable. Whereas in our country we have seasons in which sometimes you get 8 hours or 7 hours of sun. So quite depressing. But on the other hand, during summer, there's a lot of light. So if you ever plan coming to Poland, summer only.
Summer, summer is very beautiful. I love that. Yeah, and I think I also enjoy the Indonesian food already, and I hope you like it.
We really like the food. It's really, really good.
So now I'd like to ask you several questions related with Poland Forestry. So my first question is about. I know that Poland Forestry is a very successful story, and then how has this Poland successfully maintained a balance between the forest utilizations and sustainable practices in forest management? I think it will be interesting for us to know from you.
Okay, I think that all of it started in 1991, so just 2 years after the Iron Curtain in Europe collapsed. Poland regained full independence from the Soviet Union, and we started to be an independent country who can run its own politics, especially also in terms with environment. So we have remodeled the way we see forest and forestry, and instead of looking only on timber, on wood, on production side, we divided our forests, or we split them into multifunctional forestry. So we tried and we succeeded in making Polish forest containing many roles at the same time. So a forest can be at the same time a production forest and a protection forest, and they don't have to be separated. By this way, we achieve not only multi-functional forestry, but also we can change the way we practice some routines to make the forest more available for the people, which is also important.
Sorry, but do you mean that in the same area it can be production forest as well as conservation forest?
Of course. So if you imagine a place in which the soil is vulnerable, so let's say a dune, made of sand. And this dune is covered with forest. So if you would like to do a full production only, and there's probably Scots pine, Pinus sylvestris, growing there. So the best way to put a new generation of Scots pine is to clear cut all the place there. But if you do this on a dune, probably you will not be able to plant new forests.
Yes.
So instead of that, we are changing the way we work with this forest towards a more sustainable but also more protective form. So we don't do clear cuttings. Instead, we do some kind of other, maybe shelters, maybe some kind of other cuttings that at the same time provide new generation of forest, but also they are quite successfully saving the dune and protecting the dune from being released. So this is just one example of what we have. The variety and the range is much bigger, but basically what we did, we just shifted our ways of conducting forest practices. And but most importantly, we changed the way we see the forest. So right now, even in this last years, it's during pandemics and later, it was seen very visible that it has been very visible that people need forest.
I see.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but during pandemics, our government made a very good decision. They closed the forest for the public for 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
And it was rage against people, because, among people, because they wanted to go to forest. Because if you remember that time, we were sitting locked in our houses, and the forest was the only place where we wanted or could go. So it just showed us that we underestimated the role of forest for normal people, for our citizens. So now, not only we produce wood in the forest, not only we protect the environment, but also we have to take care about other ecosystem services. One of these would be recreation and tourism. For example, last couple of years, we have opened forest for people to sleep in hammocks, in tents. You can go to a forest, you can take your tent, you can take your children, your partner, just go alone, and you can stay a night there, which was prohibited for many years. And foresters were afraid of people in forest. They would destroy the forest. They don't know what to do. No, it's not the case. People take care about the forest, because who goes to a forest to spend a night there? Only those crazy ones who'd like to do it, not those that like to destroy things. So this was another step toward understanding better what people in our forest need. And from the other perspective, we also run some experiments about there's this term forest bathing. So you go to a forest to get a bath. We would call it maybe a walk, but a bath sounds more fancy, so you go to a forest to spend some time to boost your positive energy. And we did some research how forest management puts what are the changes in people's mood when there's a forest management of this sort, of other, when there's dead wood, many different experiments. And what we have found out is that generally people love to be in green scenery. That's first and most important thing. And then the scenery itself, until it's heavily damaged, it doesn't matter that much. So this is an important thing. So we can run forest management, and at the same time it will be beneficial for people. So we see that all of the things that we invested into in the 90s are now giving us some boost with the forestry.
So these forests which love very much by these Poland people, most of them is private or state-owned forests?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Poland, as a former communistic or socialistic maybe country, has a big share of state-owned forests. This is a historical thing that after the Second World War, many of private forests were nationalized. Not only forests, also farming estates. this way or another, we end up in a situation in which 80% of forests in Poland are publicly owned and around 20% are privately owned. And I think in long term, this is a better situation because we believe that only the country, of course, if it's running smoothly and without big problems, can save the forest from the greed of private companies that would love to have just the, earn money and do nothing. So we try to protect our forests from that. We have bad experiences from the past and we try to avoid it now.
Do you have a kind of forest conservation system just like in Indonesia?
As far as I know about the system that you have here, we don't have anything like that in Poland. So basically, state-owned forest, the majority of the forest, is being managed by the company called State Forest. Just the company is called State Forest, and they are managing our forests that are owned by the public, by the country, so by the people generally. The company is quite big one, for Polish conditions, of course, but they employ 26,000 people, and those people are like, we would call them managers of forests. So they don't do any forest operations, so they don't harvest, they just manage other people that do this. But the people that do all the forest operations, so lumberjacks, working with the saw, cutting down trees,
forwarding.
Then forwarding and etc. All the driving and transportation of forest products of wood, and also what was previously sometimes in state forests, so all the sawmills, or all other things like that, they were privatized. So now they are in private hands, and it's we may say it's outsourced. So the private companies may compete on the market. Of course, it has some benefits, it has some drawbacks, but this way or another, we see that probably this was one of the factors that led to such big success of Polish forestry now.
Okay, now one question remains in my head is about, you mentioned about the private company doing this forest operation, right? So they can compete each other. Is there any regulation in Poland that's a kind of basic requirement for this forester to have, for example, competency certificate, something like that?
Yes, of course, we have a special set of the certificates for every of those skills needed on every position that you.
So it's mandatory.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, that's very good idea.
Yes. Otherwise,
because
so imagine that a forest in Polish conditions is growing 150 years. And you put inside a person, unskilled, untrained, who has to do something there. If they do any damage, it was 100 years wasted because we didn't take care of one certificate, 2 weeks of training, or maybe half year of training, but still, this is worth the future of our forest. We need to pay attention to this very carefully.
Me 10,000% agree with you. It's very good. Okay, now let's talk about the community. What is the role of the community in this forest sustainable management in Poland?
Okay, so as I mentioned before, there are state forests and private forests. Both of these have conducting every 10 years, we are providing them with a forest management plan. And this plan is setting goals for next 10 years. And at this time, local communities or regional communities, they have a chance to talk with foresters about the plans, what can be changed. Maybe they have observed something that, I don't know, forester missed. Or maybe they have some good ideas that can be incorporated into plan. They
also involved directly in the implementation.
Yes, they are involved in the process. The process itself takes around 2 years from start to the end. So around middle, when some rules are set how the process will look like, they have a time, and at the end also they have a time to add their comments, and foresters should listen to those comments, should consider them. And at the same time, I would think also about community as a community of private forest owners, because this is something that we talked in the morning lesson today in IPB, but maybe I would just say it again, that Polish farmers, which are majority of the owners of private forest, are having just in average 1 hectare of a forest. Not much to do big things. On the other hand, we see that private forest potential is underutilized. They could have been cutting more trees without damage to the forest.
Yes.
But they don't do it because they don't have time, they don't have skills, they don't have knowledge, they don't have, incentive for that.
Okay.
So for last couple of years, one of my friends, I helped him, he started an association of private forest owners that is running quite good. They have more than half of the country already in, and they join farmers or forest owners, private forest owners, into groups that can leverage some law, because this is a problem. If you're just a single farmer, probably you do not much, but if you have 10, 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000
It's
people
become a massive power.
you can go to the minister, you can talk with him. So last years they fought for money to keep the farmer forests safe, because with time you need to invest money and resources into a forest, but you don't get a lot of income from it yet. You have to wait more. But this is a very crucial, very important moment. If you miss that moment, your forest might get, we call it unstable. So a wind, snow might damage the forest, and you will lose 50, 40 years of work. So you would not like to let that happen. So this association is teaching farmers, is teaching them how to work, and they try to also use this potential they have to sell the wood. Because most of the farmers right now, they don't have any capacity to use the wood from the forest. They could use it in the farm, but if they cut down big trees, they don't have resources to cut them into boards, so they would need sawmill and etc. So this organization helps them to just sell the wood, get rid of the problem, and get the money which they need. And I think that is also a big community issue, that farmers, forest owners in Poland need some help, and some kind of association is a big benefit for them.
Yes. So it seems that so we know that the global forestry we face very big challenges, for example, climate change and etc. And what is the challenges that's facing by the Poland forestry right now, and the most serious one, and how you address these challenges?
That's a very good question, because I think that all of us suffer from not only climate change, but also the next steps that are following this. So I think that we should start with the information that in Europe and in Poland especially, global climate change is being visible as a rise of the temperature. And this rise is not only about the average temperature, which is rising slowly, but about the extremes. So right now the temperature can get as high as 45 degrees in Poland during summer. 45 degrees and higher. And if it would be one day in a year, that would be okay. But the number of days of high extreme temperatures is rising. So if this number is rising, we have another problem. The water evaporates faster when there's more energy from the sun. And the number of rains, the precipitation, is not changing that much. So we have the same amount of water, and adding to that, the rains are more rare, not so often as they were before. and the amount of water that comes with one rain is higher.
Yes.
It makes water runoff from forest,
Yeah.
runoff from agriculture
Yes.
to the rivers.
Yes.
So it's not available for the
Yes.
for the plants.
Okay.
And previously we had a lot of snow during winter. So the snow melting slowly in the spring was providing water to plants.
Yes.
Right now there's no snow.
Oh.
No snow, meaning no water in the spring. No water in the spring, meaning harder conditions for plants to grow. And we see it in our forest. In 2015, we had a quite big drought in Poland.
Oh, really?
And since then, we see more insects damaging our forest, more pathogens, like mistletoe. You know mistletoe probably from American Christmas movie when they put mistletoe and they kiss under mistletoe. So mistletoe is killing our forest right now, and we are running research about it. It's not an easy way, but I think that you said something about what can we do? How can we tackle the problem? So first, I tell all the students, you have to have the data to make decision. To get the data, you have to go to forest, measure things, check them, or you can use remote sensing, satellite data, drones, lidars, whatever you like. But just take the data, think what's there, do research, and then base your decision on that. Or research more. So, we are scientists, we have this vision of world in which your research is meaningful and you should utilize the results of the research for the public, for the community, for the better good.
Yeah. Okay, this is, I think that when we talk about sustainable forest management, so we're talking about forests, we're talking about the forest management programs, and we're talking about people. And some people mostly talking about people as beneficiaries, but not so many talking about people as the implementer of these forest management programs to the forest, so the forest can be sustained. So this is a problem about the workforce in forestry. So what is the problem that faced by Poland? I mean, perhaps in other countries they're facing aging or low wage or high. For example, in Indonesia we're facing not so good or poor working condition. For example, very high physical workload, manual system, and various hazard which is come from the natural hazard.
Okay, so I think I have an answer for that. So it depends what we are talking about. If we talk about state forest, so the managers of the forest, since this change I told you about in the beginning, in the 1990s, the salaries of forest managers have been rising. And right now they are quite good. Maybe they are not, you won't get rich of being a forester, but you can live a decent, good life, especially if you live in a small village, someplace remote. And people there are mostly, or vast majorities, after Master of Science in forestry, which we believe is enough level for them to be prepared to tackle all the challenges that are in the forest. So they are well skilled. We try to show them the other perspective. So all of these students have been someplace abroad. We take them for some internships or for just small travels to other countries to see other perspectives. So, and of course they are well digitally developed, so they can use new tools and they can use new technologies in forest. And we believe that these skills and this mentality takes them to new levels with the management of the forest itself. But on the other hand, we have those private companies I told you before. So private companies, this is an issue, especially in certain regions. So depending on the forest structure and forest type, there is a possibility for machine harvesting or not. And if there's possibility for machine harvesting, then skilled people after courses and having certificates can operate the machines, and they can cut down, let's say, 4 hectares of a forest in one day, which previously with manual labor would take much more workforce and time. And of course it makes them also safer because there's much less of an accident. And we like this situation in which they don't have the possibility to be a part of an accident because there are some kind of systems that safeguard them. But still we have a lot of manual labor in the forest. It's slowly being changed. So we hope that one day we can say that we have all the forestry workers safe. And because these are the private companies, nor the government, neither any of the organization can influence what or how much they pay the people. So I'm not sure about any statistics here, but we see that there's not enough people wanting to go work there, especially for manual labor, which is very hard and very energetically consuming. So that's why also the mechanization is going inside Polish forests, because one skilled harvester operator can do much more in much less time. Of course, he will get much more money, but probably still economically it will be okay. The problem is the cost of the equipment, which is extremely high, and not only it is expensive, but also you have to provide work for this equipment all the time. And if the companies are fighting on the market to get contracts, it's not an easy situation, as all private companies have in the market. So we believe that one day we will have a safe and good conditions both for forest managers and forest workers.
Okay, Wojciech. Okay, Dr. Wojciech, thank you. This is a little bit something in my heart, I mean, what can Indonesia learn from situation in fallen forestry? Perhaps you can say some.
Yeah, sure. So we've been talking today with your professors about the concession system here in Indonesia. It looks like that most of your forests are state-owned, but the forests designed or designated for forest production are being sold to the companies to manage them. And from our perspective, that sounds strange, because you have good universities like here in IPB in Bogor that teach foresters, forest managers. So we believe that they can run successful state-owned companies that would be of a much better safeguarding the forest. We have this historical concession system from 100 years ago, during which Poland, after gaining independence in 1918, sold concession to a British company who was supposed to run forest management with the plan. And after checking, after a couple of years, we saw that they don't go with the plan. They cut too much, they cut too fast, they don't regrow the forest, they don't reforest the places cut down. So we canceled the contract, and we had to pay them additional money for that. So we believe that private companies, which are mostly focused on earning money, are not the best managers for forests that probably your people, the same as Polish people, cherish very, very high.
Okay, that's a lovely comment from you. And then this is the last thing. I know that you came here as a guest lecturer. Also, you are discussing about the possibility in doing collaboration with IPB for double degree or joint degree. So, can you talking more about this to us, that and the possibility and the potential in the future?
What we've been talking today, we just come from a meeting about this topic. So we've been thinking that we should find a way to join our two universities on a topic that is a common topic for both, that will integrate our knowledge, expand it, and add something extra from both sides. And for example, like your students here in Bogor are being taught about tropical forestry. Our students are being taught about European version of forestry, which of course the conditions are different and other things are different, but maybe a degree in that regard when we cross-reference our topics and try to find a common thing that will join us will be an interesting for your and our students, but maybe for communities of students outside of our universities, our countries. So we should hope that our two university program will give us synergy at the end that will interest others as well.
Yeah, I hope so. Okay, so I think this is our last discussion for this afternoon. Thank you very much for your coming. I know that you must be very busy in the morning, even perhaps since tomorrow, yesterday.
Yeah, but we are here to work hard and to try to collaborate as much as possible. So we are happy about it.
Yeah, and tomorrow you will go to Bandung.
Yes.
And please enjoy your trip to Bandung.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Very nice to meet you here. Okay.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Baik, jadi pemirsa, itulah pembicaraan kita bersama dengan Dr. Wojciech. Dan kita akan berjumpa lagi dalam pembicaraan-pembicaraan di Pikal Corner yang lainnya. Tetap sehat dan tetap salam hijau. Salam.